Hey, can you hear me?
I cannot hear you. Hi, Jay.
Can or cannot? Oh, okay. One sec. Okay, there we go. We're recording. So thanks so much for your time today, Stephanie. Appreciate it.
Hi, Jay. So happy to be on board.
Yeah, so it's been great working with you so far, and um, excited to be doing this with you and starting the podcast. I had some couple things I'm just wondering in general, and I think could be good things to discuss. So, for example, how we came to be is, you got I found you as a B2B option specifically for a healthcare B2B client, and we were starting to find our own agency's identity in B2C, and have realized it was time to just offset that, just like our weaknesses to someone who's strong on that. One of the things I was wondering about is like, what's the story of Pace Creative and getting into B2B, and also you said you had three agencies, which is very impressive. Uh, what's the story behind having three agencies and your specialization?
So basically, Pace Creative, I started it's my third agency. I've now owned three agencies at the same time. So this is my third agency. My first agency, I started with three partners in 2006, and we were a production agency. So we were mainly working in mining, so still regulated industry, still B2B, and we owned that industry quite well. We understood it very, very well. And at the time, we were creating packages. So packages included marketing communications packages. It included a website, fact sheets, PowerPoint presentations to investors. And so that's how we started, really. From there, we grew into other industries. And then we had the opportunity in 2008 to own another agency, and that agency was a full service digital agency targeted in the US, and only in healthcare, publishing, high tech, which you call now cybersecurity, and publishing and education. I believe those were the main industry. So that's how I got into healthcare since 2008. We were working mainly with Fortune 500 companies then. I would say that our team was trained by mainly GE Healthcare, Philips, and Siemens. And so that's how we got started. What happened is that we realized with that agency that we were mainly doing a lot of amazing projects, extremely innovative, but they had no strategy and the backbone. And so they would often stay on the shelves and actually never be published. And so that was for us a disappointment and demotivating. So that's how we decided to start Pace Creative, to really focus on strategy first, planning, and then execution.
Gotcha. Wow, that's a lot of experience. If you had to like put each agency into one or two sentences, could you summarize it a little?
So the first one was a production agency. So think about, typical production is actually at the 90% of agencies out there in North America are production. So you call the agency, say, I want a new website, and then we would create that website. So that's the first one. The second one was a full service digital. So at the time, what you think AR, VR now, we did it in Flash. Like we did a lot of the stuff, using different technologies. But nothing is new to us. Like everything has been done. The technology is new, but like the message, it's nothing quite exciting for us. But because we've done it, and we really were pushing the boundaries of innovation for marketing. But a lot of the things we did there was, patients and physician first type of communication, focusing mainly on the physician first and then the patient. But for that agency, yeah, we did a lot of different work. Like, again, it could be a lot of go-to-market strategies, actually, if you think back. A lot of go-to-market strategies. So we were in charge of, for instance, we were part of the first Botox. When the Botox launched, we were part of that team. Sonicare, we actually created a 3D of the Sonicare when it was in manufacturing to help with the go-to-market strategy. So those are some of the projects that we worked on. But the company that helped us understand thought leadership is GE Healthcare. They invested in thought leadership around 2010. And at the time, so it's been a while, and then they asked us to be trained, to train with them, and we said yes. And once we were trained, after a year and 18 months, we looked at each other and said, "This is the future of marketing. This is what we should be really focused on." And so we started Pace Creative.
I gotcha.
To answer your question, it's difficult in two sentences. Sorry, Jay.
No problem. Oh no, that's great. And so before the agencies leading up to that, did you or any of your team, like the key partners in your team that were there when you were founding, did you guys have corporate experience, or how'd you work your way up to getting Fortune 500 level clients?
No, it's a good question. So Jay, again, I think we took, like, we had the opportunity to buy, or not even to buy, to take over an agency because the partners were not getting along. And so basically those were the ones who had those Fortune 500 relationship, and we basically took over because they had project that needed to be finished, and we had the team.
I see.
So that's how it worked. It just pure luck. If you think about the biggest luck in my career, that was the one. So they had this relationship. It was an agency that was going on for a long time. Like, they were in business for 15 years. They had established themselves, in healthcare, in publishing. Sorry, healthcare publishing, high tech. So yeah.
I see. That's very similar to us as well.
Oh, really?
Well, not the like the concept of, there's an opportunity in whether for us it was B2C. So there was, a company was coming to an end, and we were there and we were working, and we had some mutual clients, and then we continued to take them on ourselves. So and that's kind of like, where we are today, like the huge growth we've seen in the last half year or so. It's a lot of, the more I talk to people like who are successful, it's not only just hard work all the time. Maybe some people say it just is, but I think a lot of it is having the opportunity and being in the right place at the right time too. For us at least, it was to have that combination, because no matter how much hard work there was always a bit of a ceiling or level to break through, and getting people to give you that trust, or there's someone above you in that level above you first, and then when that opportunity is there, you step up and take it, and then you get there. But it was nothing really I or my team really. Maybe we could have got there in another 5 years or so, but it was honestly, it was a little with COVID and everything, and our whole agency was set back during COVID. Almost all our clients were gone. We used the PPP loan to try and start a marketing campaign out of that to regain some of the clients we lost from COVID. And then it kind of worked. And then iOS 14 came out, and then the labor shortage came out, and we were in a very like construction. So there was huge labor shortages, and and there was before even COVID. So it's just all these things. It's like, man, what I don't know. I'm doing everything right. I'm reading all the strategies, and it's just a tough time of to really to get some consistency. But now that things are coming back to normal and we've had some opportunities, things are finally working out. But my main point with like going into all that is the discouragement a lot. And I think there are a lot of businesses or agencies can definitely get discouraged. They feel like they're doing everything right, and there's setbacks. If I were to tell my old self now, to one thing is to prepare for the setbacks. Um, they're inevitable. There's nothing like when you're optimizing your company or a marketing campaign every single day, and then every day it's like a little improvement, a little improvement, a little improvement, a split test here, A B test. Okay, this one wins. We're getting further, further, further. And then you have a huge setback, like someone leaves your company, or iOS 14 kills your campaign, or maybe you just take things for granted because you got the whole team in place and you're like, okay, I can finally relax, and then the whole thing falls apart. Then a setback occurs. So, and I think anticipate the setback and prepare for the worst. And when that setback finally comes, you'll be prepared for it and you can overcome it and continue to go. I think a lot of people they'll give up, their business or agency when the first setback comes, and I've done that too. I admit that, but this time around we're fully prepared for it because I think we have a really good thing going. We have a great team now, and I don't want anyone to lose their opportunity, or us, our team, our clients. Just because we can't handle setbacks or we're not prepared. But I think that just that comes with experience preparing for these things. But I just wanted to mention that. I think that's something a lot of people give up because they don't prepare for that setback, and I see that not just with business owners, but with friends of mine too. We're trying to. Everyone always asks me like, Jay, this is so cool what you do. Can I intern and all this? And they study and learn it, and then one thing sounds complicated, and they're like, oh. After a month of getting into it, they're like, I don't want to do this or something like that. I'm like, what? It's just okay. No wonder you're stuck. Sorry. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
No, you're right. Persistence goes a long way. I also think, again, strategy in terms of positioning, right? The positioning helps a lot. We still struggle with thought leadership today. Because PR firms call content marketing, and it's news releases and really brand awareness and content. And so we struggle with that, even though we actually create thought leadership. Like, we have technical writers on staff, in addition to storytellers. And it's still a struggle, but for the ones, the healthcare companies that get it, then we do very, they stand out basically. So I think positioning helps a lot in finding a niche, and it's what we realized. When we started Pace Creative, we really want to own content marketing in its entirety, like holistically, not just one aspect of content marketing, not just one phase of the sales cycle, the entire sales cycle, all the phases in it. And then, of course, SEO plays a big role in it. Tone of voice throughout every single channel. So, consistency, looking at it from holistically, and then building legacy for our clients from a communication marketing perspective to support sales. So we've always played, that's what we do basically. But we have found so far, it's been an uphill battle, like explaining to people that's what marketing should be doing, should be working with sales. We, as a function, we should be siloed. We should be working together. Very difficult. And today, things are changing, finally. If you look at a lot of the jobs posting out there, it's VP of sales and marketing. They're no longer siloed. They're the same, they're on the same team. And so, there is hope. things that companies, Fortune 500 companies were doing 10 years ago are actually coming as a trend today. So it's nice to see.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting about the phases of content. So could you give a couple examples so that maybe like, for example, like in the context of someone in healthcare, if like what's important, what should they know about different phases of content and how that's going to potentially convert someone into their pipeline?
Oh, this is okay. So basically, there's a few things here to take into consideration. The customer journey itself has several phases, 5 to 6 phases. The first one is brand awareness. People don't know. Well, people know they have a problem. They're looking for a solution. That's your brand awareness, and then hopefully they find you or find the company. They look, the company or a company that can solve that problem. The second one is looking at all the companies, the consideration phase, looking at all the companies or all the different options, and then being able to compare each option or getting all the information they need to compare each option. The third phase is purchase. So that's the phase usually where at some point they will actually call or maybe get in touch with the salesperson to get additional information or something very specific they're looking for to be able to make that final decision. And then in the sales as well, you've got the onboarding, right? The onboarding, you make the sale, there's an onboarding, there's a communication aspect to that. And then you've got, so those are the 3 first phases, which are the most important. A lot of companies focus on brand awareness and forget the rest of the phases. So that's one thing that we see. But in terms of content, is that answering your question, Jay, or you want to more exotic?
No, so that I think it's great to start with explaining the stages of the customer journey. One thing we try and do is we try and explain what we do at each step or the specific service that takes place at each step. And like you said, a common issue is clients will often focus on just one step of the funnel. The entryway, which for your clients is brand awareness. For a lot of clients I see, it could be brand awareness, or it could just be driving traffic. And for example, we now basically our management fee lets you pick and choose, or basically we pick and choose 2 or 3 services, and each service covers a different part of the funnel. The big thing for that in the B2C context would just be email. So you drive them in with traffic, either social or Google, and they could be at different phases in buying. I think it's a little more top funnel if it's social. They're not actually looking for a solution, but it's on their mind. You get them. If they're on Google, they're looking for a company, they're going to be a stage lower. But then after you drive that traffic and you either do remarketing, which is a stage lower, so retargeting ads, they're coming back after they've been there on your site, or you're remarketing because they filled out a lead form, or if it's e-commerce, it's one of those get 10% off by joining our lists. And then email plays an important role in remarketing the leads that don't become your customers. So that's like that middle/bottom funnel, where bottom funnel, it will, you do referral campaigns, review campaigns, cross-selling, all those other things, like extending the lifetime value of a customer. So on our site, what we do is we not only define the customer journey on the services page, but we also, we put each service and we talk about that context I kind of just described at each one. So that's a little bit about what I was wondering, like what services or what value do you bring to each one of those steps of the, you said there's like different content at each part of the customer journey that you do for clients.
It really comes down to the strategy. So usually, we do a market fit strategy. I think our strength is really around that, documenting the strategy for our clients, aligning those steps, the content that needs to be created, generated, and published and shared at each stage. And then we decide on the channel. And so I think you're describing it, but that's the way we go about it. So the same thing, but for us it's all documented, and we go one channel at a time.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Yeah, but I think in general, because we do the strategy, our approach is very risk averse. So we really want to make sure that any recommendation or any recommendation that it requires an investment is actually really well thought out, data driven, so that no money is being wasted.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think the more preparation from the beginning, the better, and your client's gonna appreciate and trust you more for that. Kind of how we're doing that. We do research, but it's more so the research has been done in the past with experience, with where our strengths are, where our weaknesses are, and just working with proven it for. I think for B2C, it's very easy because these business models are so I don't want to say cookie cutter, but I mean, for the marketing campaigns, they kind of are. Every market's different and has different variability, different variables, different competition. But if you're a kitchen remodeler, you're advertising kitchens, you're doing keywords like kitchen near me, kitchen, town, kitchen remodeling, town name, and it's basically for us, we can just change the keyword, have a very similar campaign that we know works. A lot of people, I feel, I actually talked to a client. They were not too happy that an agency was using a proven ad, and I said, well, they noticed they were using it for a different client, and I said, well, I mean, would you rather they reinvent the wheel and start from scratch, or just use something that they know can get you results out of the gate? So I think a client should be okay with that. But then I found out they said, "Oh no, this client, or sorry, this agency actually, it was in the same territory. It was one of our competitors." I said, "Okay, that's a different situation.
Yes.
You should be mad." So now we're working with them.
No, exactly. I think you're touching on something here. So we don't copy paste. Like, everything is tailored, and the reason it's tailored is because the communication strategy is different for each one of our clients. So, for instance, I'll give you an example. So we work with two competitors in healthcare, like perfect competitors. One we worked with, and we did the event strategy, and they stood out at the conference. Turns out the competitor was just the booth next door and reached out to us to do exactly the same thing. But it's not always exactly the same thing, because they have a different positioning and a different tone and different messaging. They have to stand out. We have to make them stand out as well. So it still work. That's what I'm trying to say. You still need a bit of strategy to make them stand out, especially in B2B. B2C, I understand if it's not the right, in your case, it's a good example. But it's just in general, I think we really need, in order for a company to stand out, they really have to work on their positioning, their market fit, and how they're different.
Yeah, that's why we want to shy away from B2B, because you really can't get away with that. A lot of B2B, especially the bigger companies, they're all national. So competition and standing out and being unique matters so much more. Whereas a local SEO strategy in one town is basically just swap the towns for another town, and it may be more or less competitive. And it may sound like we're being lazy, but honestly, that's just the truth. It's the reality of B2C. For us, we just think it's just so easy. But yeah, B2B, the last campaign we did, that's why we contacted you. I mean, it was very, very strong competition, very, very small market, very small audience. We're using 6 different services that we never use, like cold email. We use we like incorporated QR codes on direct mail and tracking, CRM support. I mean, we're kind of doing that a lot now, but what else? Voicemail drops. We didn't know, like, that's hit or miss. Just a whole bunch of things that it's like learning to be professional in 6 new services. that we don't normally do with B2C. But I guess, like, so is there some level of, you must have some level of comfort in specific services that you can say, okay, I'm going to cater it and make it unique to this client. But I still know the best practices. I know the technical of, cold email deliverability, for example, things like that, right? You have like a base of best practices and then you customize it for the client, or is it different from how I described?
No, you're right. I mean, I think the biggest challenge for us as a full service agency is we need to know best practices in every single channel. That is the biggest challenge. And so that's why we have a team of close to 30 people in-house, and each one has their, area of expertise and the list of best practices that we have to consider when working on a specific project for a specific channel. And I think that is the biggest challenge at Pace Creative, for sure. So for clients, the way we work is really more of a proven process to success than looking at the channel itself, because the channel for us is really at the end, it's the end, like the tactics that we have to bring to life. But really, there's so much more work that needs to be done for that tactic to be successful and actually to resonate with the audience we're going after. And to your point, Jay, we love B2B because it's super niche. Like, we have clients who only have 100 clients or, companies to target worldwide. We love that stuff. Like, we're very, very good at it. We worked with another client who only was going after, in the US, Fortune 100 companies. And so every quarter we will target 20 of them. And our success rate was very high, 10%. And we're talking like millions of dollars every year, like hundreds of millions of dollars every year.
10% of what?
Sorry?
The success was 10%, but
10%,
what's that metric?
Yeah, no, they out of the 20, like we were targeting 20, companies every quarter, and 2 of them would sign up. That's
oh, wow.
10% return. Like, that's huge. And it was a full-on campaign, but the campaign that for this client, for this industry, was we decided to go an event strategy. And well, actually, first initially was a direct mail campaign that we converted into an event strategy because the sales team wanted it. They thought it would be helpful. Mm-hmm. And so that was that campaign. It was very, very successful. And then that company got acquired by JP Morgan. Good for them. So it definitely increased their valuation.
Wow, that's great. You should definitely list that case study like right on the homepage. It is? Oh, okay.
We have plenty of those. We have plenty of those examples.
Yeah, your case studies are stacked. Like, I couldn't even scroll through them all. I didn't have enough time.
Really. Well, we work in over 16 industries, but our favorite is really those ones, super niche with a specific problem they're solving. We're working exactly right now for a cement alternative product, and that's environmentally friendly. And we've been working on that go-to-market for 18 months. This is not, this has been a lot of work in the making. And the launch was at an event. At the event, they got one very, very warm lead that is extremely interested, and we're looking at a deal of $280 million.
Wow. Congrats. That's amazing.
Well, exactly. And they don't need that many leads. They really don't, because it is so targeted and it is so niche, but it is a need for it. And that company has been doing the R&D and creating a new product to meet that need. So, but we've been helping them for the last 18 months on that communication strategy, what marketing channels to invest in, when to invest them in to be super effective. So we're taking our time and go, one channel at a time. But yeah, it's fun. So that's what we like.
Wow. This reminds me, after the call, if you have like a quick little pitch deck or of success stories that if we're sending more B2B clients your way, I can just say, hey, look at these guys real quick. They're legit. I think that would be helpful in the handoff just in the future going forward if you have something like that.
Yeah, I can put, again, because I work in so many different industries, you know, I'm happy to put a bit of an overview, but you know, like I can get you you know, examples per industry for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. I mean, I know we're newly kind of acquainted and starting to hopefully have a first mutual client together soon. But I'm still learning about these things, and it's really great. It makes me feel like even more confident that you know, we're going to refer to you guys. I mean, definitely feel like the clients will be in good hands. So I had another question here. So for new clients that, or maybe they're not a client yet, maybe they just a lead has an appointment with you, and you're doing the consultation or just having a conversation. What are some of the biggest mistakes you're seeing that they're making, or mistakes of misconceptions of what they think they should be doing that's completely off track during that first initial conversation you have with them?
Oh, there's so many, so many. Um, the biggest mistake I see at the executive level is not having a clear understanding on marketing and the marketing value. What marketing brings as you know, what type of value marketing brings to the organization, and how marketing actually is a revenue driver. So that's the biggest misconception I hear, basically. So it's like, oh, marketing is easy. We just have to redo our website. Okay, well, go ahead. You know, go and redo it, and we probably will. You know, if we work together, we probably will have to redo it again. And then some of them are totally fine with it. But you know, it's really that misconception of the role of marketing. At the executive level. I think this is the biggest misconception. And the second one is the role of communication. A lot of people are confusing PR with positioning and brand strategy, confusing the role of PR in the sales cycle. I see that a lot. Recently, I had a chief strategy officer showing me his editorial calendar in a PowerPoint presentation, and that was very interesting. So you know, you know, I think, you know, in general, I think people keep, because I don't know where this is coming from, and maybe Jay, maybe you can share your experience, but the idea of, you know, marketing communication to support sale is very easy, and it doesn't take much, you know. It's a website. It's easy to put a website together, or it's easy to do an email campaign, or it's easy. It's easy. You know, yes, it's easy. You're right. You know, AI can create one, but is it going to actually work for you? Is it going to make you stand out? Is it going to bring in revenue for you? Most likely not, right? So for me, all of those tactics are kind of a waste of time and resources, and still requires energy, right? You still have to, there's a process, you have to oversee the process. But that's the biggest misconception I see. And the other misconception that I see at the executive level is, again, like, and not all, again, most of our clients are business consultants. So they understand the idea of opportunity cost. They understand the concept. And so they come to us and they want to get it right the first time around. So they want to invest in strategy. They want to invest in planning. They want to be educated. They want to understand how things work and why we do things in certain order. And then when we execute, they also want to be, you know, they want to get the reports, they want to discuss them, and they have very good questions. They really want to oversee, not be, they feel like part of the process. So those are in my mind, the best executives that we work with. So, you know, and the misconception at the top is that, you know, like, not understand, you know, thinking that pricing is more important than the value. So that's another misconception, you know, price versus value.
Pricing of their own services or your services?
You know, just in general, like, they just don't understand, you know, they're thinking, like, I don't know about you, but we see a lot. Well, there's a huge change right now going on in the industry where, you know, it was a good idea to have huge internal teams to take care of marketing, right? You have your own graphic designer and your own coder and your own whatever. Huge teams. Things are changing right now when most of our clients are going through a reorg. And so because it's not optimized, it doesn't make sense to have, for most cases, a full-time email campaign, someone who just does email. It doesn't make any sense. If you have a strategy, if you have a plan, in B2B, it doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. I don't know, it's not a full-time job. It really isn't. And it doesn't matter how many products you have. So, I mean, unless you have like hundreds of products, but a lot of clients don't even have that. They are very niche. They have a few products. So it's easy to create, to plan, to strategize, plan, and execute. And then it's the same thing of, forever, basically. Nothing really changes. It's the same product. And then you move on to the next one. So what I'm trying to say is that, there's been this shift right now of, like, a lot is good, like quantity versus quality. We've always been on the quality side, never on the quantity side. So again, the value versus price. People think, oh, you're getting so much out of this. You're getting 6, case studies or blog posts a month, right? You're getting a great deal. This is, not what we do. If we can create one really good piece of content a month, that's great. It's much better for us than 6. We don't burn out people, employees. We don't burn out the process, and we get great results with it.
It was funny. I was just thinking, we had a conversation yesterday where we're trying, we're getting we have this ridiculous high quantity strategy of content for SEO because we're using AI, but then we're also using several of our team members to optimize it so that it doesn't, so it's basically like we save the time getting the thoughts out with AI, and then we have it research and all that, and then we proof it through 4 layers. But we've got it from 33 a month. Now we're up to 100 a month, and we're testing it on ROI Society's site. But I was just thinking yesterday, this is so much quantity, but at the very start of this, I was just thinking of individual, maybe like 5 to 10 articles, and was going to narrow it down to just very high quality pieces of content. Like we do a lot of research on up and coming topics, like AI is a big one, or just like trends that are going to be long lasting that people aren't ranking for yet, that we are very knowledgeable and can be, dominate that content and get that to rank. I think that will do so much for SEO. I think it'll directly drive traffic. I think it'll just increase domain authority a little bit, and people might start backlinking to it if it's good enough. So the quantity, I think I'm hoping our strategy is we're hoping it's a good strategy, like foundation to start, and that's why we're testing it on our own site, because we don't want to do experimental things with clients just yet. But yeah, so we put everything into Surfer SEO, make sure it's enough words for the keyword that we're trying to go in to optimize for. We use ChatGPT twice, and then 2 writers also write, and then we have 2 proofers at the end proof it for each article. I think the whole process is about maybe 2 or 3 hours, everyone combined. So we're pacing at 5 a day, but it's definitely a high quantity. But like the theory is the quality is maintained through all the software and processes and checks and balances. We've been working on this process for 6 months now to try and maintain the quality while still maintaining quantity. So yeah, it's interesting. That was on my mind as well. And so when about the biggest mistakes that you see new clients do, the first thing you mentioned was that they think it's just making a new website and they'll get results. And so it's the same for us. I think the keyword is expectations are way too high, is how you can put the topics. So I feel like the challenge is always resetting expectations. And I think you lose a lot of sales that way, because but sometimes you get the realistic people who respect you and tell you, you know, I'm not going to hand everything to you on a silver platter. And any agency who says it's easy is probably adding some skepticism in the back of their heads. But so we've actually we've addressed this, we've identified this as well, and we've come up with a response to this. So for B2C, for about 8 years now, I've had this. Back when I was in sales, I had one client say to me, "I would love to work with you. You seem very smart, but how do I know I'm going to get an ROI on my investment with these services?" And me being a perfectionist, I had to answer it. So I thought, okay, how do I show him an ROI? So I just whipped out the spreadsheets. I did the math. I thought about it, and I just kept asking questions. I asked our marketing team, you know, what's our click-through rate on Google for different industries. I looked at different industries, what their cost per lead was, and I said, wait a minute, if I ask the client how often they convert a lead into a sale, and I know the cost per lead, then I know their cost per sale. And if I know their revenue and I subtract that from the cost per sale, then I know their profit from the ads, at least. So the return on ad spend. So I know that before they can even launch a campaign, which is for this client. He said, I don't want to get into it until I know what my ROI is. So over 8 years, I've refined the process more and more, mostly with spreadsheets. But as of a month or two ago, we made a GPT out of it, and I'd love to show it to you at some time. But so you just click a button, says I want an immediate ROI estimate, spits out 6 questions. You give the town, you know, that other data I just mentioned, your industry, and you mention it asks what the specific goals are. Is it a profit margin? Is it a number of clients per month? Um, People have different goals. And then it also asks for their budget. So it sees if it automatically tells it spits out all the math if they need to see the math. It tells them how many leads they're going to get, range of sales, like good, worst case, average case, best case scenario. So it creates a range because different markets have different competition. And when you're starting off, you're probably going to be more in the worst case scenario. So, and then it compares their budget to their goals. So this is the part where the realistic expectations come into play. We recently had someone saying we have a $500 budget after they made their website and they wanted 10 clients a month. And I already knew that wasn't going to be enough. So I ran it through this process. I said on 500 a month, if we're lucky, you know, we're going to get 3 to 5. But to meet your goal, you know, we need 9 to 18 leads. Your conversion rate's 55%. It's going to take this budget. And then here's our management fee and add that in. So this is the minimum cost. He said, okay, I still want to meet that goal. And it showed him the ROI. He was going to make 30K on a 3K investment if he made those clients. He's like, this all makes sense. And the ROI is in the potential revenue. The fear of losing that potential revenue by not doing that is greater than that tiny little expense, which is only 10%. And I think most people know 10% acquisition cost isn't that much to be afraid of. I mean, most people they ask, they want 2 to 5% because they have no idea. They haven't done all these different calculations in their head. But when we show this to them and we say the risk isn't really that much compared to what you're making, they are. It really overcomes the expectation. They're like, oh, okay, yeah. So my competitors who have figured this out, I've now figured this out in 5 minutes. I don't have to overthink this. You've done it for me. And I even do the worst case scenario. I say, if our agency is the worst agency and we get you a $500 cost per lead, even if we suck, you're still making hundreds of thousands of dollars on your high ticket service. So if you think we're good, we'll probably do better than that. So it just really makes things easier. But where we find challenges with this and would be, we have no idea how to do it for B2B, and we're still working on it for e-commerce. I think with e-commerce, there's probably a way to do it. There's different funnel steps if someone knows their data. But again, I don't think people will, maybe 10% of people are going to know that deep. And with B2B, I don't know how you would even begin to do something like that. Do you have any sort of like estimation process?
No, we get them. We start as estimating when we do the strategy. So when we do the strategy, we get to understand the business. You know, again, a lot of our clients don't divulge a lot of their financial information. It's just as we get to build a relationship, and then we start getting our first campaign. Usually, the first campaign is a brand awareness campaign, so there's no ROI on it. It's really getting traffic to the to the thought leadership content. And then building it up from there. So it takes a few steps, right? But we do try our best to have some ranges once we start getting more and more information. But again, in B2B, we only mainly work with high ticket sales. And so once we understand, so for example, I'll tell you an example. So we worked with this client. So we did not know all we knew is that we increased his revenue. We doubled his revenue every year. We knew that. But then again, we're not really in the business of that business until the CEO actually gives us financial information. And so year two, the CEO started opening up and said, Stephanie, it's great. Revenue has doubled, but our profit has not doubled. So I'm like, okay, well, let's look into your hourly rate, how you charge, blah, blah, blah. And then we had to have those and then we were able to have those conversations. So that gives us a bit more insight on how the business works and how we can help them, because then it becomes business consulting. It's no longer marketing. Like we're talking about pricing strategy here, and how to run the business. And we created two new services, lines of services to build a business for the following year from that conversation. Plus, in addition, they increased their pricing. And so, yeah, that's an ongoing conversation. But again, I think the CEO, we work a lot with the CEOs of the executive team. They have to allow, some are very transparent. And those ones, yes, as you said, Jay, we can put a spreadsheet together, we can make some prediction, and we're pretty accurate about them. But a lot of them don't allow, don't give you the ins and outs of the business, the profit margin. It is just quite vague. So we let them be vague until they feel comfortable they can share the more specific information, and then we can give them better recommendations. And I think that's also the main difference between B2B and B2C. B2C, we work with a B2C client right now, a mask company, and it was very easy, like to get that information. It's like, this is my cost, this is and so then it was very easy to see, okay, well, how many masks we need to sell. The issue for them, talking about e-commerce, is that the old agency was a branding agency, and so there's no tracking. So we had no historical data on past campaigns, nothing. And so, you go in, again, to some degree blind in it. And then we created a strategy that was different from what they had done in the past. And it's working, but it's difficult, but it's an uphill battle for them because the website is not optimized. It's not meant to convert. And so that's the biggest challenge we're having. Because again, that idea, the misconception, it's easy to put a website together. You can use a template, any template, and sales will come, and I'm sure you have that experience too, right? So yeah.
I gotcha. Very interesting. Do you have a call in 2 minutes, or you got a little more time?
Yeah, I do have a call. I do think, it'd be nice to continue the conversation, though. I think it's a great conversation to have. And I would love to see your spreadsheet. I think it'd be great, so we can share insights on how we'll go about it.
Oh, yeah, it's AI now, so I don't even, it's upgraded from the spreadsheet. But yeah, I think some of our ads show it, and yeah, it's I can share you the link if you have a GPT Pro subscription. You can check it out. So yeah, I'd be happy to share that sometime. And yeah, thanks for your time, Stephanie. It was great talking to you about these topics. Hopefully, people who see this get some value out of it. If we do it again, I definitely have some other things I think whoever's listening could potentially benefit from. So yeah, it was great having you on. I think yeah, people definitely get a lot of value from this. Thanks so much, Stephanie.
Thank you, Jay. Speak soon.
Yeah, take care. Bye.
Bye.